Welcome back. So in the last video, or in the past few videos, we've been going over what it means to transcribe, where we have this goal of listening to something and being able to play it back and play it along with the recording. And in the last video, I kind of gave you an overview of what the advantages are of this write it down method. And this is the method that we're going to be covering in this playlist that you're in, which is the transcribing one, or how to transcribe, which is the first playlist, and it's also called the write it down method for transcribing. So we went over these advantages to the write it down method, where it's quick, there's less chance for error when you're writing something down, and you also have a physical record. And also, actually, you know what, real quick, I want to just add in one more thing that I think it's important to mention here, which is one of the things you might be using this playlist to do, I guess. But one of the nice things about the write it down method, and depending on, I guess, how you're going to be writing this down, and I would really recommend doing it with a computer. I would really recommend, the method I'm going to show you really, I guess, relies on you having a computer and having at least having access to this program I'm going to show you, which is Transcribe. But in addition to that, I think that a very useful tool for any musician to have is some form of a computer notation program. If it's Finale or Sibelius. I just got Sibelius 6 in the mail a couple of days ago, and I'm pretty excited about that, which is one of the reasons I'm making this playlist. But one of the other nice things about the write it down method, I just want to real quick mention, is that it really helps you learn your notation software. So I'll just write down learn notation software. And that's sometimes a problem, I think, that musicians and specifically composers, I guess, have when they buy a piece of notation software. Is a lot of people will buy Finale or buy Sibelius, and they're composers, and they're very creative people, and they're very talented composers and songwriters, but they'll get this notation program and just expect to have complete creative freedom with it the second they take it out of the box. And really there is, with Sibelius, I think that the learning curve is quicker than it is with Finale. I think it's easier to learn Sibelius, which is, I guess, one of the reasons I use it. But with any software you use, there's going to be a pretty big learning curve. And the thing about the write it down method, which is, I guess, compared to what else you would be doing when you're learning a new notation software, which would really be just delving right into composing and trying to be creative. What you would, kind of do with this write it down method is you could transcribe some things. You could transcribe some solos, or better yet, you could transcribe what an entire band is doing. You don't have to just transcribe a solo. You could transcribe, what the entire rhythm section is doing, or what, the entire ensemble is doing. And by doing that, because it really is kind of mechanical, you're not frankly, you're not really creating anything. You're just sort of producing a record of it. You're putting it in. You're putting information into a different form. You're not necessarily creating anything new. But because you're not creating anything new, you're going to learn your notation software a bit more fully. You're going to learn just how to make it do things that it needs to do to get this transcription down onto paper. So that's anyway. I just wanted to touch on that really quickly, and now I want to delve into this memorize it method. So the memorize it method, the main reason you do this, and also one of the things I want to say, I said this a little bit in the How to Read Music playlist. If you watch that playlist, but I live in Denver, Colorado, and one of the premier music schools out here is the University of Colorado at Boulder, and there's a trumpet professor there named Brad Good, who's an absolutely phenomenal trumpeter. Phenomenal. Well, he plays everything. He plays piano. He plays bass. He plays drums. But absolutely phenomenal musician. And this memorize it method, which I'll show you in another playlist, is really what he says is one of he kind of says that this is the tool to use as a jazz musician. This memorize it method is sort of the #1 tool that you use as a jazz musician. And I don't think he tells you to, or I don't think he would tell you to completely ignore this write it down method. And even if he would tell you, I'm going to tell you that this write it down method is very important to know, as well as this memorize it method. But kind of what this guy Brad Good says, and he's absolutely phenomenal musician. This memorize it method, he says, is the best way to learn how to play jazz. And the reason he says that, and this is the main thing about the memorize it method that really has to come across when you're using it, is that you learn much more of the nuances of a solo. So I'm going to write down that you learn it more completely. Learn more completely. So you learn, if you have, just as an example, say you're a trumpet player and you want to learn how to play exactly like Clifford Brown. You just love the way Clifford Brown sounds, and you love Sandu is a name of a jazz standard that Clifford Brown wrote. And you just love the way he sounds on that. You love all the little nuances of how he gets the buttery articulation, and you love everything about it. If you just write it down, you're losing a lot of information. If you just write the solo down, and you're just writing down the notes, you've got to be an absolutely phenomenal transcriber to get down all of the little articulation nuances into your transcription. However, if you memorize it and you don't write anything down, if you don't even try to write it down the first time you're learning how to play the solo, you'll get all that articulation stuff. You'll get all those little swells and all the little vibrato things that might be in a solo. And that, I guess, is the main thing about this memorize it method. And, frankly, there are other things that we'll go into in a sec, but, that's it. That's, if you look at the write it down method, when you compare it to the memorize it method, you're kind of giving up a lot when you do this memorize it method. It's slower. This write it down method is much quicker. You won't, there's less error, which kind of, plays into the fact that when you memorize it, you can forget it just as quickly, I guess, or probably even more quickly you can forget it. You don't have a physical record of what you're doing until, you can create your own physical record, but it's sort of another step on the memorize it method where it really kind of goes back to this write it down method. You don't have a physical record, and you're, I guess you're not learning any notation software when you're just memorizing something. But I guess, and this is partially what I guess Brad Good would say when he talks about this method, is that it's worth it. You're giving up a lot, but it's worth it because you learn this solo more completely. You get all of the little nuances there in the solo. Anyway, there is one more advantage of this memorize it method I want to talk about, but I'm kind of running out of time, and I do want to explain it a bit more, so I'll cover it in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you're enjoying these videos.